Hello and welcome to another standard video here in the preview event for the Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy expansion. Today we're taking a look at a red-white equipment deck, an archetype I featured pretty recently on the channel, but Final Fantasy completely revitalized the archetype, introducing a lot of equipment and various equipment synergies. One of the highlights, of course, being a Cloud Midgar Mercenary, a 2-mana 2/1. When it enters, we get to search our library for an equipment card and put it into our hand, and as long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. And of course cannot play Cloud without his Bustered, a 3-mana equipment, equips for 2 mana, similar to the various swords that we're used to, giving +3/+2, and whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, we get to not only draw a card, but then we can also cast a spell from our hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost. So this ability can potentially trigger twice if we suit up Cloud specifically, and similar to Buster Sword, we can also maybe trigger our Sword of Forge and Frontier twice, not only giving +2/+2 pro red and pro green, but if we get to connect, we get to exile the top 2 cards of our library, and we get to play those cards as well as play an additional land this turn, so that turns into exiling the top 4 cards if we suit up Cloud instead. And the Aether Spark can also benefit from Cloud's ability, getting twice the amount of loyalty if we deal damage, so that can also quickly skyrocket its loyalty to set up the -10 to add 10 mana of any one color, which can also be a lot of fun. So these are just some of the equipment that Cloud can find. We've got an entire toolbox of equipment that we can get, including something for Lifelink and Death Touch with a Basilisk Collar, Lavaspur Boots. I'm playing the full set since it's just a cheap equipment to enable some of our synergies, and Haste and Ward is always useful, also get 1 additional power. And then we've got some more one-offs, a Chainsaw if we need some cheap removal, dealing 3 to an opposing creature, Celestial Armor if we need flying or maybe a protection effect. Then there's the Samurai's Katana, also pretty powerful individually, as essentially a 3/3 with Trample and Haste, and then we can still move the equipment around afterwards. And then we also have the War Whip, comes attached to a 2/2 Rebel token, giving it double strike, and then we get to discount our other equip costs, so now we can, for instance, move our boots around for free, which is pretty useful. And then we also have 4 copies of Raban, another key card in this archetype, a 2/2 with a ward forcing the opponent to pay life equal to its power, and whenever Raban attacks, we get to attach up to 1 target equipment we control to target attacking creature. So we've got a ton of flexibility on where to put the equipment, doesn't have to be attached to Raban itself. And then we also have the 3 copies of Kemba, which are left over from the previous iterations, and this is another way to maybe equip something for free when Kemba enters the battlefield. And of course we still have access to the full set of Leyline Axe as well, which can maybe start onto the battlefield if it's in our opening hand, and then having a Kemba on turn 2 or maybe Raban on the following turn to suit up the Leyline Axe for free can give us a huge advantage, getting +1/+1 double strike and trample. And then at 1 mana, we also picked up a powerful play with Freya Crescent, essentially a mana elf when it comes to casting our equipment and suiting them up. And during our turn, it's also a creature with flying, so it's not a bad target for various equipments if the board stalls out. And then a Rebel Salvo has affinity for equipment, so we can routinely cast it for a single red mana, dealing a 5 to a creature or planeswalker, so that's very efficient removal. Also get to remove Indestructible for what it's worth. And then rounding out the deck, a couple more 2-mana creatures with Adelbert, a 2/1 lifelinker getting +1/+1 for each equipment we control, so it can be quite useful in a racing situation. And then a Jot, King of the Dwarves, a 1/1 double strike is a pretty good base stat line for an equipment deck, especially when it comes to our various swords, since with double strike we can trigger the Buster Sword twice, or maybe the Sword of Forge and Frontier, so best case scenario we can put those onto Cloud with double strike. But I digress. And then Jot, whenever it enters or we play another dwarf or equipment, we get to discard a card and draw, so that can also help smooth out our draws. Sometimes we draw a Leyline Axe on the first turn of the game, and then we're not going to be able to cast it, so we can still get rid of it and find something useful. Sometimes we are flooding out a bit, or maybe draw multiples of the same legendary, and then a Jot can help us out. And then the mana base also got an improvement with Starting Town, enters untapped in the first 3 turns of the game and then kind of functions as a pain land, so it's kind of a mix of a fast land and a pain land in a way. Then Plaza of Heroes, thanks to our many legendary creatures, is still great for casting turn 1 Freya, turn 2 Cloud without messing up our mana. And then we've got a couple Sunbillow Verges with 3 basic planes, and then Battlefield Forge and Vantage. So lots of red-white dual lands entering untapped early, even though we'll have to pay a bit of life to our Battlefield Forge and Starting Town. Hopefully we've got enough aggro and life gain to make up for it. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand. Nothing particularly amazing. And it looks like it's the mirror match. Okay, so we'll start with maybe our Starting Town. Get that out of the way. Play the boots. Turn 2 can start with Jots. Opponent does have Raban, so that's pretty scary. And then a land can go. And now Cloud can find whatever equipment they want, including potentially Chainsaw to take out Jots. Yep. That's rough. So we're already on the back foot. A Rebel Salvo helps. So can, I guess, not quite have the most efficient turn. Maybe for now we play Adalbert, equip attack, trade for Cloud, gain some life. Can suit up Kemba, play another Boots. Yeah, maybe that's the play. Then we'll have 2 Boots for Adalbert, as well as a way to discount Salvo some more. Lightning Helix takes out Kemba and grows the Chainsaw. And I guess it's Adalbert's equip. Try and gain 5. Another Cloud. Without a land, at least they wouldn't be able to chainsaw me. And then maybe accidentally sacrifice the one without Summoning Sickness. A Buster Sword's gonna be a problem, but can maybe Rebel Salvo at instant speed. And there's another Salvo. Alright, so can still suit up Adalbert. And gain 6 this time. And then we have double Salvo available. Don't think I need to take out Freya. At least not yet. There's the sword. So we can take out Raban before it gets a chance to attack. Paying 5 life. Chainsaw grows. Opponent's gonna hang back, so now we can take out Cloud, since it's still pretty good with a Buster Sword. Although the Chainsaw is pretty scary too. But let's see here, if I Celestial Armor, we get 3 additional power and flying, so it's not quite lethal. I think I still like it over Leyline Axe, just to make sure we gain that life now. But they could have their own Rebel Salvo for all we know. Playing a Leyline Axe is also an option, or I can just attack and then keep up armor for protection. Is gaining 6 life enough to get me out of range? It probably is. So then we can keep up armor / plaza. And And then they might keep blockers back thinking they can survive, and then we can just fly over. They also have Ward 1 twice, so they need to keep up a lot of mana if they want a Rebel Salvo or Lightning Helix it. Speaking of lightning... Alright, so Freya no longer has flying in my turn, so now we should be able to fly over. So yeah, Adalbert definitely did a lot of work here, stabilizing us. Can play a Leyline Axe for an extra power. GG's. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a hand that's light on equipment. So this one's borderline. I can improve my hand with Jot potentially. 2 ways to equip for free. But I don't think this is quite doing it for me. Alright, this seems better. Turn 1 Freya, turn 2 Cloud. Or we can go for Katana right away. Although Cloud plus Boots is also pretty nice. So then do I keep Jot or Katana? I think we bottom the Katana. Since Cloud can just find it if we really want it. But maybe there's a better equipment. Opponent's black-white. A Leyline Axe now good to discard with Jot, since I'm probably not going to cast it anytime soon. So yeah, I don't mind playing Jot first. And then Boots lets us discard and draw again. Starting Town's not a bad card to have. Extra mana is always useful. But it's not a priority, plus we might draw a land anyway. Can still play Cloud and equip the Boots, thanks to Freya. Opponent a Graveyard deck with Dredger's Insight. And looks like they're trying to combo with Smuggler's Surprise. They found a Town Greeter. Alright, so next up, Cloud and get an equipment. And then Boots on Jot makes sense. Sure. And then which equipment to get is the question now. Don't hate Aether Spark. If I draw land, I can cast it and suit up Cloud with it. And that's going to unlock more mana on the following turn. Could have also equipped Cloud. Would have been 1 more damage. But I might want the extra power on the Double Striker. Especially if we can set up our Aether Spark here. Cloud's going to be large enough already. Perfect. Oh, never mind. Yeah, it's my 3rd land, but more than 3 turns have passed. It's a little bit different than the fast lands. Gotta get used to it. Alright, in that case, I guess I can Chainsaw. It's a little disappointing. Yeah, starting Town's gonna be a little trickier to keep track of than people are used to. I don't think I need the Rebel Salvo necessarily, although it's not a bad card. 1 mana removal. And smash. Another Town Greeter. Graveyard's getting pretty full, as we see Yuna, Squirming Emergence, and summon Bahamut, which Yuna can get back. Now Rebel Salvo is an answer to Yuna, but it will have Ward 2, so then I wouldn't be able to do anything else. Might still be worth it, just to play it safe, keep up Salvo, as opposed to Aether Spark. Get a whole bunch of loyalty, opponent gets Bahamut back, and then we're pretty far behind. So Yeah, I guess I'm not doing much besides Jot and Freya attacking. Opponent jumps. So hoping they go for Yuna. Yep. So before it gets a chance to trigger, salvo, pay the ward. And then now we should be in a commanding position. And that'll do it. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, and this is what it's all about. Double Leyline Axe in your opener, multiple ways to equip them for free, and even the turn 1 boots for haste. So, play the boots. Opponents does have access to black mana, a demon wall. I think it's still Kemba here. And then Raban is a pretty good leftover, especially if I draw third lands. Because then I'll be able to give it haste and then pick up the second Leyline Axe. Let's see if Kemba survives. It's going to be the Annex, pretty nice with a Demon Wall immediately draining for 2. But we get to attack with Kemba at least. And then I guess we'll play Raban as opposed to... could also suit up Kemba with a pair of boots. Doesn't seem as exciting. One of the main reasons to play Kemba on turn 2 was also that it dodges Cut Down, whereas Raban is now still within range. Shieldred, pretty nice with Annex as well. And that's a lot of boots. So I can, I guess, attack with Raban, equipping the axe, and then play another boots. And then at least we'll get to trade for Shieldred. So then I guess I discourage them from blocking Raban as opposed to Kemba. Since I think I would rather have Raban left over compared to Kemba. So Shieldred down, opponent falls to 5. But yeah, now if they have removal and we don't draw lands, we could be in trouble. We also dealt ourselves quite a bit of damage with the Pain lands, and of course the Annex has been draining us too. At least the third land gives me Katana, but we'll have to suit up the Leyline Axe again, and that's going to make the difference. Because without Double Strike, our opponent can probably stabilize. Archfiend is a large blocker. And Vantage is useful. So now I could play the sword and equip that for free. Versus Katana, equip the hero token with another Leyline Axe. Then I would have a pair of 4-power double striking Tramplers. So that's 16 total, opponent's got 9 toughness. That should be lethal. Yeah, that checks out. So no matter how they block, we should have just enough going through. Sweet. Xaxes. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play with a keepable hand Turn 1 boots, turn 2 can immediately play Kemba to suit up. Or we can play our Cloud first and maybe get a more expensive equipment like a Buster sword that Kemba can equip. Yeah, I think I like that. Try and get a bigger benefit from the discount. Could also go for the Sword of Forge and Frontier since our opponent's playing red. Sure. So it could be the Mirror Badge, but not seeing any play so far makes me doubt that. So yeah, Sword looks fine. Can attack first. And then next turn Kemba. Equip Sword for free. Give haste with the boots. And then can still maybe play Freya. Although there might be a removal in response here. Carnosaur takes out Kemba. Alright, in that case, I can still suit up Cloud, which will trigger twice. So hopefully we exile a lot of lanes we can play. And yeah, that counts. Although, sadly, Buster Sword will go to waste. So now Cloud can't search it up either. So Carnosaur can set up some combos. As we see, Overlord of the Mistmoors, so might be some sort of a Dragonstorm or Cascade type of deck. Now, Cloud could get something to give Trample to the Cloud that's in play. What would that be? Anything cheap enough that we can equip right now? Can't think of much. Chainsaw can remove one blocker, then they just jump with the other. It's not terrible. Or I can just diversify and play some other creatures out, maybe with haste. Yeah, still kind of like the idea of playing another Cloud, since I could use more equipment. A Leyline Axe, I guess, can give a Trample and Double Strike next turn, or I could play Aether Spark and equip. Yeah, Aether Spark seems good here. And then probably suit up Cloud so we get the most loyalty. So then next turn I can -10. And yeah, Aether Spark triggered twice thanks to Cloud's ability, so 17 loyalty. Can easily -10 and still have 7 loyalty left over. But yeah, there's Etali, one of the hits of maybe a Dragonstorm. For now we get to untap. So what's the best I can do here? I guess just make mana, empty my hand. I guess we'll start with Jot. Discard Freya. See if we can find some more exciting equipment. Well, that counts. So now we can make mana. Play Leyline Axe. And Leyline Axe on Cloud should be game, unless they have a white removal spell. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Turn 1 boots. Turn 2 either Cloud or Raban. Raban has the most upside if we can curve into Buster Sword. And at the very least there's a boots. Now Collector's Vault, so opponent's going big, and Plaza was excellent. So this is the dream start. Suit up the sword, hit you for 5, cast Cloud for free. And what else can we get? I guess the green deck, I guess protection from green could be useful. So we'll get Forge and Frontier, so I can cast it and equip with Raban onto Cloud. So we get to trigger the sword twice. So we'll trigger the sword first, I guess. Exile 4 cards, hopefully plenty of lanes we can play. But yeah, our opponent has seen enough already. Yeah, that was the nut draw pretty much. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand's interesting, a little sketchy. I do get to put in double Leyline Axe. Turn 1 Freya, can turn 2 equip to attack on 3. Maybe with a collar to gain life, but if they remove Freya, our plan falls apart until we find another creature. Yeah, this is the type of hand that's worth trying for science. If we draw Kemba, Raban, Rebel Salvo, those are all good draws. Any other 2-mana creature, pretty much. Yeah, that sound effect alone was worth keeping. Opponent blue-green. Now the boots as well. Still starting with Freya. Opponent with the Chocobo, so it could be the bird deck. Black could point towards removal. Still seems fine to equip the axe. And then we've got another Freya in case it gets removed. And then Death Touch with Double Strike is a pretty nice pairing. Hectice makes me discard. I guess I discard Freya, but I could regret it if there is removal after all. Cloud's not bad, so that gives us some insurance now. And yeah, could play Clouds, maybe get some juicier equipment. Although I'm not opposed to getting our Planeswalker, since we can use Freya to put it on Cloud next turn. That seems good. The Aether Spark. For now, play the boots. Freya can attack, or we can play Collar. I think we'll attack for 4 now. And then next turn, if we don't draw the lands, Aether Spark, cast thanks to Freya making mana, equip Cloud, and then the ability would trigger twice, so we get a lot of extra loyalty. Take 2. Our opponent is keeping up mana, so there could be removal in our future. Still not opposed to trying the Aether Spark. If they remove Cloud in response, it's not a complete disaster. And that works. Hectice jumps, but we'll still get the extra loyalty here. Unless they can bounce their own creature. It's gonna be the limit break. So, trade happens, but we still get the loyalty. And yeah, Hectice comes back, so we have to discard again. Probably keep the extra creature over Collar, although life gain could be useful. But if they remove Freya, I need an extra creature to equip. So Aether Spark on 11 loyalty, so could make 10 mana next turn, which would be enough to play Jots and suit it up with various equipment. But they're probably gonna attack our Planeswalker now. Jill can bounce the Aether Spark. So that's a reset. And now I kind of miss my lifelink equipment. So probably have to pivot now, play Jots, discard the boots. Can suit up the boots. And attack. So your opponent's at 8. So I'll see what happens here. Opponent passes. Vantage enters tapped. So I could go for Aether Spark on Jot, although they might run the same gambit with a limit break. Could also put a Leyline Axe on Jot, so it gains trample and 1 extra power. That's not terrible. Still kind of feel like it's a bit of a waste of mana, but I guess it allows us to attack past the Chocobo. That works. And that's lethal. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the play here with a fine hand. And we've got our turn 1 boots. Turn 2 Cloud. Can get another maybe 3 mana equipment. And it's the mirror match. Facing Freya. Still gonna play Cloud here. And then I'm not opposed to the whip as something I can play and then equip the boots for free. Can also make an argument for either of the swords since they synergize with Cloud, assuming he survives. Yeah, the Forge and Frontier could be pretty useful in the mirror match. So maybe we'll give that a try. If I hadn't drawn an extra creature, I probably would have gone for either Katana or Whip just to produce an extra creature token. Opponent's got the Buster Sword. So now a Chainsaw. I guess if I play Freya, I can cast Chainsaw, since we need red mana for it. And then ideally draw a land so I can play and equip the sword. Opponent's got lightning. A land enters tapped. Do still have a Rebel Salvo available at least. So this turn cast sword. Probably wait for them to equip lightning. Just miss out on 2 damage, but they might end up wasting a bunch of mana. And I guess we can let that happen. Or I can remove it now in case they have a pump spell. Chainsaw revs up. And then now we can try to equip maybe boots first on Cloud since we have a backup. And then now they would need a 1 mana removal spell. That works. And now we get to trigger this twice. I'll keep Freya available. Maybe should have tapped it to equip. Alright, yeah, this is a little awkward. No lands. And since I didn't use Freya, I cannot cast Jot. But we still have Cloud equipped with our sword, so that's what matters. Now Astor, we can salvo. Finds Chainsaw, although Cloud has protection from red. Alright, and that'll do it. Awesome. So we get to see this newest iteration of the red-white equipment deck in action. It's a deck I featured just 2 weeks ago, and the deck has changed quite drastically. A ton of new additions, of course Cloud and Bustered being some of the highlights, but Raban also cannot be underestimated, setting up those incredible starts. So yeah, the deck definitely got revitalized with Final Fantasy, so I'm hoping it's now finally good enough to at least stand a chance in the current best of 1 meta, but it's still going to be an uphill battle. So that's going to do it for today's gameplay. I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.